On today's episode of Tool Time, we're going to be talking all about jigsaws. And to help me explain it and teach you guys how to use them, we have a special guest host with us today, Mrs. Klompstra. So today, we're talking all about the jigsaw. Do you have any idea, any guess what these saws will be used for?
Probably do some jigging and detail work.
Detail work, right? Yeah, so this saw isn't going to be the one you're using to cut your 2x4s and your framing materials for your house. This is for little detail work, especially when you have to cut curves and those kind of things.
Okay.
So we have two different styles here. This is called a D handle, because it's the shape of the letter D, or whichever way on the camera. You kind of see it like a capital D. And then this one is a barrel grip, because it's just long and sticks out, and it's easy to hold it with one hand, a little bit different. Basically the same thing. So a jigsaw is fairly simple to use, very few buttons on them. So you plug in your battery in the back, so you have a trigger to go.
All right.
On battery tools, there's always some form of safety, and so that's just this little lock or unlock button.
Okay.
Make sure it's unlocked, you're good to go. And then all the other little bells and whistles, you can adjust this plate if you want to cut on an angle. This adjusts as far as a orbital pattern, whether or not it's straight up and down or kind of in a circular motion. And then the last button, this is how you change the blade. Do this and it pops right out.
Oh, pretty easy.
Pretty easy. So, just to show how you can use a squiggly line, that's what it's used for. I have a pencil. Here's somewhere on the notice. Go ahead and draw some kind of squiggly line. All right. And so now you're going to go for it.
Okay. All right.
Before we make any cuts or use tools, what do we got to do? Safety first. Put on our safety glasses. All right. So go ahead. I think you can figure this one out. You want to start with your base plate. Make sure it's nice and flat on the board. And now when you're cutting, the saw is going to want to try to pull itself. You control the speed. You don't have to go fast. You control how fast you're pushing. So most times when I see people make mistakes, they're trying to do it really fast. You control the speed, go slow, and that's how you make the curves.
Not okay.
All right, so in following your line, some little tips and tricks. Again, you control the speed. You want to keep it at full throttle.
Okay.
Because that just helps the blade make the cut. And then if you can't quite make the turn, you can always back up a little bit and keep turning that way instead of trying to force it. That's called just a relief cut.
Okay.
So let's do one more.
All right.
We'll try again. And I'll get a little bit simpler of a curve this time.
All right.
Somewhere along that. Much better.
Much
You stayed
better.
right with the line. All right, so this is how you use the D-handle grip. Now that we learned all about the D-handle and saw how easy that one was to use, we're going to try out the barrel grip. And so you want to slide your battery in. And so, can I see it for a second? And so this one's a little bit different. This one doesn't have a trigger that you hold on to squeeze. There's a little slide knob up here at the top. You hold it, and it starts, and then to turn it off, you hit it again. So there's not a trigger that's going to stay on as locked on, but it's by your thumb. You can easily flick it if you have to turn it off. But these are relatively safe. If it's still running, you aren't really going to cut yourself. So that's why they're able to make one that's locked on in that way. And so another cool feature on this one, you can turn it so it'll blow the dust out of the way. So it has like the little fan. It blows the dust out of the way, or you can turn that off if you had a vacuum attached. We're going to leave that on for now. Just a cool little feature that Milwaukee added into their barrel grip here. So we're going to go ahead and try. And so she has her initials carved out or drawn out here on the wood. And so we're just going to show you the kind of details that you can do. So go ahead. Just hold it. You have to just hold it until it starts.
So I'm like stuck.
All right, so when you get stuck, just go ahead and just wiggle it out usually.
Okay.
So that just means there's a little bit of pinch in the plywood, but that's fine. Go ahead and get reset. Got our initials, perfect.
Yep.
And so this is the kind of thing that you're going to use a jigsaw for. All right, which one do you like better? Which one is easier to control?
I like this one better, the D one actually.
You like this one? Cool. It's all personal preference. Some people like these ones, some people like these ones. Whatever, it's basically what you start out with or get used to start out, that's what you're going to like better. All right, so before we close out, we're going to show you how to change a blade on one of these things. Let's say it's bent or it's snapped off and you want to change the blade. So first thing, whenever you change any blade on a tool, unplug the battery. So to unplug these batteries, squeeze the two red buttons and pull straight back. Just like that. All right, and so this one, actually, that blade might be hot, so be careful if it's a fresh blade you just cut with. They could be hot, so you might not want to pinch them. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate on this one.
Zoomed in on how to change that blade out on a jigsaw. Here's the lever. You just slide that over and it is loose. To put it back in, you just have to make sure you push it in all the way nice and tight and you are good to go. So when you do it, you have to make sure you push this lever back over to insert the blade. So what it looks like from this side, you can see right in there. It's hard with the lighting, but you can see that T slot right there, or that flat slot. So how it works is this blade has these little notches on it. Basically, it just clamps down on this side so the blade can't come out. And there you have it.
As far as safety things go, basically you aren't going to touch the blade here on this one. Again, jigsaws is relatively pretty safe. Just make sure you aren't touching the blade. Wear your safety glasses. And then as you go, and you watch the video when she was cutting her letters, when she couldn't quite make the turn, she backed up a little bit and then moved forward. And so that's called a back cut. And it gives you relief so you can able to make the turn. So you make a sharper turn doing that way. And so you want to do the back cut on the scrap side. So we had extra plywood here that was fine to cut extra on. You want to make sure the detail cut remained on her letters. Any questions about the jigsaw?
No, it's a really fun tool to use.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Tool Time!